Time for one of our great segments of the week, our partnership with The Daily Poster. David Sirota, the founder and editor of The Daily Poster. He joins us now. David, it's good to see you, man. Thanks for joining
Good
us.
to see you. Thanks for having me.
So, David, you got a new piece that we wanted to highlight here. Let's put it up there on the screen, which is that the democracy crisis that is never discussed. What is the argument you're trying to make here, David?
Look, we hear a lot about January 6th. We hear a lot in the media about the Republican effort to restrict voting rights in some of the states in the country. What we don't hear a lot about in the discourse, in the conversation, is the other crisis that's humming underneath the American politics, the other democracy crisis, which is what people want versus what the government is actually doing. And I think the reconciliation bill debate is almost a perfect example of that. If you take a look at what the Democrats in Congress have been cutting out of their reconciliation bill, it almost perfectly matches up with exactly what the public is telling pollsters it most wants out of that bill. The best example of that is the most popular potential initiative in the reconciliation bill is the proposal to allow Medicare to finally be able to negotiate lower drug prices across the board. That provision is the provision that has been held up from being added into the bill. It has been watered down. It was threatened to be taken out for weeks and weeks and weeks. It was ultimately hollowed out. I mean, the provision that they're now talking about putting in there is the most absolute minimal version of that provision, and it barely got in. And if you go through all of the other things that have been taken out of this bill from the beginning, what you see is it matches up almost perfectly with exactly what the public says it wants. Paid leave, an expansion of Medicare. Look at taxes. Most of the serious proposals, not all, but most of the serious proposals to tax billionaires and the super rich have been watered down or taken out of this bill. Even Joe Biden's pollsters have said that this is the single most popular set of provisions taxing the wealthy out of all the 30 economic proposals that they tested. So again, what we're seeing here is the reconciliation bill debate is an almost perfect example of how Congress is doing exactly the opposite of what the public says it wants.
And David, one of the things that you said last time, I think which really resonated with people, was about Trump and about where exactly people's misfaith in government comes from. Well, give us this, your take on this in the context of what happened in Virginia.
Sure. I mean, I think, look, Virginia didn't give voters all that much of a real choice. I mean, you had on one side, you had the DNC's corporate money man, Terry McAuliffe. On the other side, you had the Republican former CEO of the Carlyle Group. I mean, this is the classic worst of all worlds kind of choice. And at the same time, you had the Democrats not delivering, at least not yet, its reconciliation bill, direct help to people. You've had headline after headline after headline for months about the Democrats in Congress and Joe Biden essentially abandoning their most popular proposals. So then everyone wakes up and says, how did Virginia go to the Republicans? And the answer should be obvious. When the Democrats do not use their power to deliver real help to people, guess what? People are willing to vote for the other party. What we see at election after election after election is that voters keep voting for change, any kind of change. And when they don't get change, they keep voting again for change. So that's why I think you see these elections swing back and forth. It's not necessarily a Republican vote or a Democratic vote. It is a change vote from a population that wants change and is not getting it.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, David, we've seen different developments here around the SALT tax. Bernie Sanders said that he was going to vote against it. There's been some movement on that whatsoever. How do you expect that one to shake out? The fact that they're willing to go so to the bat for that, but as you said, all of the provisions are being taken out that people generally support.
I mean, it's such a good example. I mean, the state and local tax debate, where a full repeal, let's be clear, a full repeal is probably the single most regressive tax policy that you can pass. Most of the benefits of a full repeal of that cap on how much people can write off of their state and local taxes, a full repeal of that is most of the benefits go to the richest 1%. And you've seen the Democrats from affluent blue state districts demanding that be put into the bill, demanding that while, for instance, a full Medicare expansion apparently is, quote, too expensive, right? They're talking about spending $400, $500, $600 billion on a repeal of these caps. Again, a huge gift to the wealthy. The way I see it working out is, look, you've seen Bob Menendez just yesterday, the New Jersey senator, not some great progressive. Even he came out and said, essentially, look, a full repeal is ridiculous. It would just simply enrich the millionaires. And he's from New Jersey, where a lot of those districts, those members of Congress are pushing this. So I think what you're going to end up seeing is a raise of the cap, certain levels of income moving up so that people under that income threshold can take advantage of it. But a cap on, I think it's, it might be 400,000, 500,000, which I think is probably still too high, but at least not allowing, 100 millionaires and billionaires to be able to write off their entire, mansions and estates in this. I think that's where this is headed.
Well, we'll see how it all shakes out, David. Really appreciate your reporting. Of course, we're in partnership with you, and we've given our link to our premium subscribers there for a discount to your yearly subscription. Very proud of that, and we really appreciate you joining us, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. And we will see you all later.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.